Hi friends, today we are going to discuss about the Indian Council Act 1861. Okay, so as we have seen that in the previous class we have discussed about the Government of India Act 1858. Okay, so uh, so the Parliament felt the necessity to eliminate the shortcomings of the Government of India Act 1858 through the enactment of Council Act 1861. Okay, so see, see, the Council Act of 1861 is a series of the Council Acts enacted between a period of 1861 to 1909. Okay, so there were three Council Acts that were enacted. Okay, from the period Council Acts from the period 1861 to 1892 and 1909. There were three Council Acts. Okay, and before the Council Acts we have seen that. Okay, first was Regulating Act. Okay, number second was Pitt's India Act. And after this a series of the Charter Acts were enacted from the period 1793 to 1853. Okay, so see, Charter Acts were enacted from 1793 to 1853. Each were renewed after 20 years. Each Charter Acts, the life of the Charter Acts which were enacted, the life of which was to be for 20 years, and after the completion of 20 years it were to be renewed by the Parliament. Okay, so that the shortcomings which were prevailing in the previous acts could be removed or abolished. So after the Charter Acts, Council Acts started. Council Acts were enacted from 1861 to 1909. Okay, there were three Charter Acts: 1861, 1892, and 1909. Okay, so one question arises that what was the necessity for enacting so much acts instead of enacting one act. The Parliament enacted so much acts. Okay, so the explanation for this question is that, see, let us first see the question: why so many acts were enacted instead Parliament could have enacted one law to rule India. See, the necessity was felt because, see, I am giving you some historical background again, so that you people will be revised about the things which I have taught. Okay. See, East India Company had got an monopolistic right to trade with India. Okay. But after indulging themselves, means the East India Company, after indulging themselves for few years, they became the rulers of India. Okay, instead of carrying out the trade activities and commercial activities, they began to rule in India. Okay, so the company's rule was bringing a bad name for the British Crown as well as Parliament. Okay, the activities of the East India Company were making British Crown infamous. Okay, so the Crown felt the necessity, Crown as well as the Parliament felt the necessity to regulate and control the affairs of the company in India. So, Regulating Act was enacted. Okay, and after Regulating Act, the shortcomings of Regulating Act were removed through the enactment of Pitt's India Act. Okay, these were basically the laws which were enacted to improve the administrative setup of the company. Okay, so that a better governance as well as a better control into the affairs of India could be effected from the Britain itself. Okay, so there was a regular or there was a periodical assessment for the running of the acts. After going through the details and getting the analysis of the running of these acts, okay, improvements were made in these acts, okay, from time to time. So see, after Regulating Act, Pitt's India Act, the Charter Acts were enacted, okay, in order to make company responsible for the Parliament, in order to make company responsible for their affairs in India with the British Parliament. Okay, see, we have seen that in the Regulating Act, Court of Director and Court of Proprietor were supreme. In the Regulating Act, Court of Directors as well as Court of Proprietors were supreme. Okay. Through Pitt's India Act, a new body came into existence. Okay. It was Board of Control. And Court of Director was existing. So these were dual system of government. Okay. So these defects were removed through the Charter Act. Okay, under which the Secretary of State was given an upper hand, and the Viceroy was to obey the orders of only Secretary of State. Okay, instead of Court of Directors and Board of Control. So see, after Pitt's India Act, a series of Charter Acts were enacted, each after every 20 years. Okay, these Charter Acts were basically the rules and regulations, okay, which were enacted to control the affairs of the company and also to alter its administrative setup, okay, so that a better governance could be given to the Indian people, as well as a better direction and control by the Parliament to the company could be affected. Okay. So there were a series of charter acts, and after charter acts, council acts were came into existence. Okay. So see, these council acts were for what purpose? These council acts were enacted in order to provide the Governor General's Council with legislative council. Okay, it was felt necessary by the Parliament to associate more and more people in the process of law making. Okay, so that the revolt like 1857 could not be repeated. Through the Councils Act, the British Parliament felt the necessity of associating more and more Indians, so that the revolt like 1857 could not be repeated. Okay. So these council acts were enacted in order to associate Indians into the legislative council. Okay. So देखिए, जैसा कि हम लोग समझ चुके हैं, बहुत सारे एक्ट आए, बनाए गए। इन एक्ट को बनाने का सबसे बड़ा कारण था कि जो भी खामियां थी उनको दूर करने के लिए जो प्रीवियस एक्ट थे उसमें कुछ न कुछ सुधार, रिफॉर्म लाने के लिए ये इतने सारे एक्ट को लाना पड़ा। ठीक है, प्रीवियस जो भी एक्ट था, पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट, चाहे रेगुलेटिंग एक्ट, ठीक है, इसमें जो कंपनी का एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सेटअप था उसको ठीक करने का कोशिश किया गया, जिसके द्वारा कंपनी पे नियंत्रण किया जा सके। ठीक है, और उसको ठीक करने के बाद चार्टर एक्ट आया। चार्टर एक्ट में क्या हुआ? चार्टर एक्ट में ये हुआ कि कंपनी का जो रूल था उसको धीरे धीरे ख़त्म करना शुरू की, और इंडिया का जो भी अफेयर्स था, ठीक है, वो गतिविधि वो सारे किसके हाथ में आ गए? पार्लियामेंट के हाथ में। यानी कि जो पार्लियामेंट का जो कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर रैंक का जो भी मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट होता था, जैसे कि सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट, उसको बना दिया गया। जो भी एक कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर को सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट का पद दे दिया गया और उसको सुप्रीम अथॉरिटी बना दिया गया। ठीक है, तो चार्टर एक्ट के थ्रू क्या हो गया? एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सेटअप में चेंज लाने का कोशिश किया, कंपनी के एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सेटअप में, ताकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कंट्रोल किसके हाथ में आ जाए? पार्लियामेंट के हाथ में आ जाए। ठीक है, तो ये चार्टर एक्ट जो भी थे ये कंपनी को रेगुलेट करने के लिए, और क्राउन के हाथ में, मतलब पार्लियामेंट के हाथ में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा नियंत्रण आ जाए। ठीक है, 1858 एक्ट के थ्रू 57 के बाद 1858 का जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट था उसके थ्रू पार्लियामेंट ने शासन डायरेक्ट अपने हाथों में ले लिया, क्राउन के नाम पे, ब्रिटिश क्राउन के नाम पे। ठीक है, और उसके बाद 1858 के बाद फिर से एक सीरीज शुरू हो गया। जैसे कि एक सीरीज यहाँ पे शुरू हुआ था किसका? चार्टर एक्ट का। तो यहाँ पे किसका सीरीज शुरू हो गया? काउंसिल एक्ट का। तो काउंसिल एक्ट कुछ नहीं था, बस ये था कि लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल जो था गवर्नर जनरल का, और प्रोविंस में जो ये था लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल, उसमें इंडियंस को स्थान मिले ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा, ताकि इंडियन का जो भी फीलिंग्स था और जो भी आवश्यकता था उसको पूरा किया जा सके। ठीक है, और 1857 की जो क्रांति थी वैसी क्रांति दोबारा न दोहराया जा सके। ठीक है, इसलिए काउंसिल एक्ट शुरू हो गया। ठीक है, तो अब हम लोग आज इंडियन काउंसिल एक्ट 1861 पढ़ेंगे। ठीक है, सो लेट अस सी। So see, now we are going to discuss about the Indian Council Act 1861. Okay, so after a great revolt of 1857, the British Parliament began to felt the necessity of associating more and more Indians into the Legislative Council of Governor General as well as the Legislative Council of the Governors in the provinces. Okay, so There were a series of council acts that were enacted from a period of 1861 to 1909. Okay, so there were three councils act which we will discuss one by one. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the Councils Act 1861. Okay, so see, causes for the causes for the enactment Council Act of 1861. So see, what were the causes which led for the enactment of Charter Act, which led for the enactment of Council Act of 1861. So see number one. See, defective system prevalent in the Governor General's Council, or we can say that defective procedures that were prevailing in the Governor General's Council, as a result of which there was unnecessary delay in the enactment and the enforcement of the acts which were passed by the Parliament, by the Governor General's Council. See, causes for the enactment of the Council Act of 1861. Okay, so there were some causes which led for the enactment of Council Act of 1861. Okay, so definitely there were some defects or the demerits. Okay, into the Government of India Act of 1858, which the Parliament failed to remove. Okay, so through the Council Act of 1861, the Parliament tried to remove the shortcomings of the previous acts. Okay, among the many causes for the enactment of the Council Act of 1861, the most prominent one which I am going to discuss. Okay, see, Governor General's Council was acting as a mini parliament, okay, due to which there were unnecessary delay in the enactment of the acts, unnecessary delay in the enactment as well as in execution of the acts. Okay, so see, due to which there were unnecessary delay in the enactment as well as execution of laws. Okay, see, due to unnecessary delay in the enforcement of these acts which were passed by the Governor General's Council, the native people for whom these acts were to be executed were not getting benefited at the appropriate time. Okay, the people were not being getting benefited at right time. system of red tapeism. They had started a system of red tapeism. Okay. They have started a system of red tapeism. See, red tapeism means lal fitasari, means corruption due to delay in the enforcement of policies. Okay. See, we have seen that due to the provisions similar to the procedures of the parliament, okay, there were unnecessary delay in the enactment as well as execution of the laws. Okay, so so the present situation or the prevailing situation did not satisfy the needs of the people in India. Okay, so there was a necessity to enact a new Council Act in the name of Indian Council Act 1861, and also other causes. See, due to centralization, policies for the provinces began to form at central level, but again through the Charter Act of 1853, members of government from provinces were inducted into Governor General's Council, but these were officials, members, which could not satisfy the increasing demands as well as necessity of the local people. See, as we all know that, and I have discussed it in my previous lectures also, that centralization of legislative councils were done through the Charter Act of 1833, okay, through which all the legislative processes were to be performed from the Governor General's Council, and the legislative authority of the provincial governors were taken away. Okay, and but through the Charter Act of 1853, some members of the Governors Council from the provinces were given a place into Governor General's Council. Okay, so that policies could be formed for the provinces at the central level. Okay, but since the members of the Governor General's Council from the provinces were official members, so they could not satisfy the increasing needs and demands of the people at the local level. Okay, since these official members were officials, they do not possess any kind of sympathy or do not possess any kind of feelings for the people of for the native people. Okay, so a need was felt, okay, to associate non-officials or representatives, okay, from among the Indian people. Okay, so these council acts were basically a change in the legislative structure of the administration. Since, see, as we all know that in the previous acts that both the powers and the functions like executive as well as the legislation, okay, of the government was vested with the Governor General's Council. Okay, and both these functions were performed by Executive Council, means the function of legislation as well as execution were performed under one council, that was Executive Council. But from the council, but from the Indian Council Acts, it was felt necessary that a separate organization should be formed. For execution, there should be one another council, and for legislation purpose, there should be one another council. So they with the Indian Councils Acts, okay, there formed two councils. One was Executive Council and other was Legislative Council. Okay, so now let us see. See, Lord Canning was the viceroy, okay, at the time when the Indian Council Act was enacted. Okay, so now let us see. See, as the viceroy, Lord Canning was facing some difficulties, okay, which he through a dispatch to the Secretary of State for Indian Affairs, through a dispatch, he suggested and he demanded some changes in the Governor General's Council, okay, so that administration could be run smoothly. Okay, so see, Lord Canning in 1861 dispatched some of his demands as well as some recommendations which was necessary for the smooth functioning of the administration. To the Secretary of State, Lord Charles Wood. Okay, who was the Secretary of State at the time? At that time, Lord Charles Wood was the Secretary of State for Indian Affairs at that time. Okay, so Lord Canning demanded few changes. Okay, so that the administration could be done smoothly. Okay, so these demands were: Lord Canning's demand were to establish new legislative council in Madras, Bombay and Northwest Frontier provinces, as well as exclusion of judges from Governor General's Legislative Council. See, the demands of the Lord Canning was that there should be establishment of one legislative council each at the provinces of Bombay, Madras as well as in Northwest Frontier province. Okay, and there should be exclusion of judges from the Legislative Council of Governor General. Okay, as the judges were included in the Governor General's Legislative Council through Charter Act of 1853. Okay, the judges were included into Governor General's Legislative Council through Charter Act of 1853, and the demand of the Lord Canning was that the judges should be excluded from the Governor General's Legislative Council. Okay, so now see, Canning's other demanded were that number of non-official members should be increased from 3 to 5. Okay, and the number of members in the Supreme Council should be increased to 12. Okay, out of 12 members, 6 were to be non-officials. The term be or 2 years. See, these were the demands of the Lord Canning, which he suggested, okay, to the Secretary of State for India, okay, and these demands were accepted by Lord Charles Wood, okay, in December 1861. So his demands were that establishment of legislative council in the provinces, as well as the exclusion of judges from the Governor General's Legislative Council, okay, and number of non-official members should be increased from 3 to 5 in the provinces. In the provinces, the number of non-officials should be increased from 3 to 5. Number of members in the Supreme Council should be increased to 12, out of which 6 were to be non-officials. Okay, the term of office of the members of the Legislative Council should not be more than 2 years. Okay, so see, now let me explain one more thing. What were the Supreme Council? What were the Supreme Council? A new term for all of you. See, these Supreme Council were the old council, or you can say the council which was established from the Regulating Act. Okay, Regulating Act of 1773. Okay, the councils which were established from the Regulating Act of 1773 was known as Supreme Council. Okay, the number of members at that time were 5, including Governor General, which I have taught you in my previous lecture. Okay, that number of members in the Regulating Act of 1773, the number of members of the Governor General's Executive Council were 5, including Governor General, and those were to be nominated by the Court of Directors. Okay, so Governor General's Executive Council were known as Supreme Council. Okay, and here I have discussed again Supreme Council because one of the demands of the Lord Canning was also that the meetings of the meetings of the members of the Supreme Council will occur or take place at places other than Kolkata. At places other than Calcutta. See, the demand of the Lord Canning was that the meeting of the Supreme Council, the demand of the Lord Canning was that the meeting of the member of the Supreme Council will occur at places other than Calcutta, because the headquarter of the Supreme Council, which was established in the 1773 through Regulating Act, was headquartered at Calcutta. Okay, because Governor of Bengal was made Governor General of Bengal. Okay, so his Executive Council was named Supreme Council. Okay, and their meetings were held at Calcutta only, but through the council, through the Indian Council Act of 1861, their meetings were to be held outside Calcutta, and demand was made that their number should be increased, which was previously 5 to be increased to 12. Okay, so now let us see some other aspects of the act. main provisions of the Indian Council Act of 1861. So see, this Indian Council Act was the first act to establish the legislative institutions in the country. Okay. Through this act started a system to establish representative institution through which Indians would be associated in the policy making process. Policy making process. See, as we all know that the previous acts possesses all the formalities of the parliamentary system, similar to the British Parliament. Okay, the Governor General's Council had adopted all the formalities of the British Parliament. Okay, so there was a delay in the enactment of the act. Okay, now see. So this act empowered the Viceroy to nominate 3 non-official members into his legislative council. These were Raja of Banaras, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. 1861, the Viceroy Lord Canning appointed or nominated 3 non-official members into his legislative council. Okay, the first members. So the first non-official members were the Raja of Banaras, the Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. Okay. See, one more thing. These titles like Sir and Rai Bahadur. Okay, these titles were conferred by the Britishers on the Indians. These titles like Sir and Rai Bahadur were conferred by the Britishers upon Indians who were loyal for the Britishers. So when India got independence, the first thing which the government of India, independent India, did was to abolish the titles. As we all know that in our fundamental rights, article number 18, okay, speaks about the abolition of titles. Okay, these titles only that the independent government of India thought to abolish first of all. Okay, so see, these were done in order to extend the right to equality. Okay, that each and every citizens of India are equal, and no such titles will be conferred upon any person. Okay, I will discuss when I will come on the fundamental rights. I will make you people clear. Okay, that which kind of titles should be, which kind of titles are legalized. Okay, so we see the titles, the educational titles like doctor, professor, these any person could take. Okay, but the titles for their social and works like Bharat Ratna, Padma Shri, these kind of titles no one could use before their surname. Okay, तो हमने देखा कि लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल एक्ट के आ जाने के बाद, यानी कि काउंसिल एक्ट ऑफ 1861 आ जाने के बाद, जो कि लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल में सेटअप के मतलब एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सेटअप में चेंज लाने के लिए था, जो कि कैसे एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल से लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल को अलग किया जाए ताकि बेहतर पॉलिसी लोगों को मिल सके और लोगों का विश्वास लोगों का विश्वास ब्रिटिश शासकों के प्रति बढ़े। ठीक है, इसी के लिए बहुत सारा जो है सो पब्लिक वेलफेयर वर्क भी लाया गया। ठीक है, तो हम लोगों ने ये देखा कि इंडियन काउंसिल एक्ट 1861 आने के बाद सबसे पहले 3 लोगों को नॉमिनेट किया गया। ठीक है, कि वो पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेट करें इंडियन पीपल के लिए, चूँकि इंडियन है तो इंडियन पीपल के लिए वो पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेट करें। तो उनमें जो ब्रिटिशर्स के जो सहयोगी थे, ठीक है, जैसे राजा ऑफ बनारस, महाराजा ऑफ पटियाला और एक और थे सर दिनकर राव। तो ये जो टाइटल मिला था दिनकर राव को, सर का उपाधि, ये इसलिए मिला था क्योंकि ये लोग ब्रिटिशर्स के वफादार थे। ठीक है, तो लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल में उन्हीं को जगह मिलता था नॉन ऑफिशियल के तौर पे, जो लोग वफादार रहते थे। ठीक है, तो धीरे धीरे इसी में चेंज लाया जाएगा और कहा जाएगा कि नहीं, इलेक्शन होना चाहिए, इलेक्शन के द्वारा मतलब लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल के मेंबर को चुना जाना चाहिए, न कि इसके थ्रू, न कि ब्रिटिशर्स डायरेक्ट अपना नॉमिनेट कर ले किसी को भी। ठीक है, तो ये सारे जो टाइटल थे सर, राय बहादुर, इस टाइप के, ये सब जो लोग वफादारी दिखलाते थे ब्रिटिशर्स के साथ, उनको दिया जाता था। तो इस तरह के कानून को सबसे पहले जब भारत आज़ाद हुआ तो फंडामेंटल राइट का जो आर्टिकल है, आर्टिकल नंबर मौलिक अधिकार का जो 18वां आर्टिकल है, ठीक है, आर्टिकल 18, उसमें किया गया एबोलिशन ऑफ टाइटल्स, ठीक है, इन टाइटलों को मिटाने की बात। हाँ, कुछ एजुकेशनल टाइटल हैं जिसको लोग लगा सकते हैं, ठीक है, लेकिन इस तरह का भी जो भी टाइटल है, चाहे किसी तरह का अवार्ड मिला, पद्मश्री या पद्म विभूषण या बहुत सारा है, तो वो पद्मश्री, तो कोई व्यक्ति अपने नाम के आगे ये नहीं लगा सकता, ठीक है, तो ये किया गया। जैसे भारत रत्न नहीं लगा सकता है कोई टाइटल के रूप में, तो ठीक है, ठीक है, हम लोग इसको जब हम लोग फंडामेंटल राइट पढ़ेंगे तब उसमें डिस्कस करेंगे डिटेल में, ठीक है। थ्रू दिस एक्ट legislative council were established in the provinces Madras, Bombay, Northwest Frontier Province and Punjab. So, through the Indian Council Act 1861, a process of decentralization of legislative processes were initiated, okay, and this decentralization process, okay, resulted into complete internal autonomy of the provinces in the year 1937, okay. So see, with the enactment of this act, a system of legislative decentralization has had started, which resulted in the complete internal autonomy of the provinces by 1937. से इस एक्ट के तहत, ठीक है, विधायिका का विकेंद्रीयकरण हो गया। विकेंद्रीयकरण मतलब अब विधेयक कहाँ पे पारित होने जाने लगेंगे, मतलब सेंट्रलाइज्ड न होके स्टेट और प्रोविंस और भी नीचे स्तर पे उसको फॉर्मुलेट किया जाएगा, मतलब जहाँ का डिमांड होगा वहीं पे उसको फुलफिल किया जाएगा, ठीक है। उसके लिए पॉलिसियाँ वहीं पे बनेगी, जहाँ का डिमांड होगा उसके लिए पॉलिसियाँ वहीं पे बनेगी। ये होता है हमारा डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन, ठीक है, विकेंद्रीयकरण। तो ये जो एक प्रोसेस शुरू हुआ डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन ऑफ लेजिस्लेटिव प्रोसेस, ठीक है, ये एक तरह से कंप्लीट इंटरनल ऑटोनोमी, मतलब राज्यों को आत्मनिर्भर, ठीक है, बनाने के प्रति जो ये शुरू हुआ, मतलब लेजिस्लेटिव आत्मनिर्भर बनाने का जो प्रक्रिया शुरू हुआ इस एक्ट से, वो कहाँ पे जाके ख़त्म पे हुआ 1937 में। जहाँ यहाँ तक आते आते 1937 आते आते राज्यों को कंप्लीट इंटरनल ऑटोनोमी मिल गया, ठीक है। नौ स्टूडेंट है। better, to have better to have better control over his legislative as well as executive arms of the executive arms of his government. Okay, see, through this act only a portfolio system in the council was initiated in the year 1859. Okay, so see, portfolio system started by this act in 1859, under which a member in the Governor General, a member in the Viceroy's Council, not Governor General, a member in the Viceroy's Council was given charge of one or more departments, and his orders were to be obeyed as the orders passed in the council. See, this act enabled the Viceroy to establish a portfolio system under which one or more than one, okay, 2 or 3 departments were kept under one member of council, okay, and his orders were to be obeyed by the concerned departments, okay, and to be understood by the departments that the such orders were given by the council. मतलब अब से ये होने लगा कि कोई एक मेंबर 2 या 3 डिपार्टमेंट को देखता, जैसे कि अभी हो रहा है, जैसे फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर को 2-3 और डिपार्टमेंट मिल गया, जैसे कोई फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर है उसको कॉर्पोरेट मिनिस्टर का भी मिल गया और कम्युनिकेशन मिनिस्टर का भी मिल गया अधिकार देख रेख का। तो वो जो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर है, जो जिसके अंतर्गत 2-3 डिपार्टमेंट है, ठीक है, तो वो किसी भी डिपार्टमेंट को अपना कोई भी आदेश दे सकता है और उसको मानने के लिए वो डिपार्टमेंट बाध्य है, ठीक है। तो उस समय क्या था कि काउंसिल के निर्णय को ही मानता था डिपार्टमेंट, ठीक है। कोई एक इंडिपेंडेंट मेंबर कोई कुछ कह दिया तो वो नहीं मानता था, ठीक है। पूरे काउंसिल का जो डिसीजन होता था उसको कोई डिपार्टमेंट मानता था। लेकिन इसमें क्या हो गया, पोर्टफोलियो सिस्टम ले आया, ठीक है, एक आदमी को, एक मेंबर को 2-3 डिपार्टमेंट दे दिया और डिपार्टमेंट से ये कह दिया गया कि इनका जो भी कहनाम होगा, जो भी ऑर्डर होगा वो माना जाएगा, ठीक है। उसको वही समझा जाएगा कि ये काउंसिल के द्वारा पास है, ठीक है। सी नेक्स्ट, सी the power to without concurrence with his council and without concurrence with his council in at the time of emergency. At the time of emergency for a period of 6 months. See, Viceroy was empowered to enact or to issue ordinances. Promulgate means to issue. So the Viceroy was empowered to issue ordinances without concurrence of his council. Okay. Now his council was separated into two arms: executive council as well as legislative council. Okay. So the Viceroy was empowered to issue ordinances, okay, without concurrence of his council, okay, at the time of emergency for a period of 6 months. मतलब वो बिना अपने काउंसिल मेंबर को अपने विश्वास में लिए बगैर भी, ठीक है, अपने काउंसिल के मेंबर को बिना अपने विश्वास में लिए हुए भी वो ऑर्डिनेंस निकाल सकता था, जो कि 6 महीने के लिए हो सकता था, ठीक है। जब इमरजेंसी, जब आपातकालीन स्थिति होता तो वो 6 महीने के लिए ऑर्डिनेंस बना के थोप सकता था, ठीक है। एंड द लास्ट वन इज inclusion of fifth member into his council into his legislative council as a financial expert. See, as I have discussed that there was exclusion of member of judges from his legislative council and inclusion of financial expert as the 5th member. ओके, देखिए जैसा कि मैंने बताया था कि जज जो एक मेंबर बनाए गए थे लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल में 1853 के एक्ट से, चार्टर एक्ट से, तो उनको निकालने की बात किया था लॉर्ड कैनिंग ने। सो जज को अपने लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल से निकाल के और 5वां जो मेंबर होता वो कौन होता? फाइनेंशियल एक्सपर्ट। 5वां मेंबर फाइनेंशियल एक्सपर्ट के तौर पे लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल में, गवर्नर जनरल के लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल में अपना जगह पाता, ठीक है। So these were the Indian Council Act, provisions of the Indian Council Act of 1861. Okay. So in the next class we will discuss about the main provisions, okay, and the causes for the enactment of the Indian Council Act of 1892. Okay. So thank you.